In a world overflowing with distractions, we seek meaning. How do we transform ambition into something deeper, into true fulfillment? I'm Sam Pepin, CEO of Course Educa, and I've spent years helping businesses succeed by connecting their goals to something bigger. On the Meaningful podcast, we explore not just how to win in business, but how to grow as individuals. Through conversation with thought leaders, innovators, and everyday heroes, we uncover the stories that drive us towards something greater. Whether you're striving for success, seeking purpose, or just looking for the next steps in your journey, this podcast is your guide to navigating the intersection of ambition, growth, and meaning. So please join me and our incredible guests as we redefine what's possible in both business and life. Enjoy. The capacity to learn is a gift. The ability to learn is a skill. The willingness to learn is a choice. Welcome to the Meaningful Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Pepin. Today we're diving into accelerated learning, mastering information overload, and unlocking your brain's full potential. Our guest today is Berg, recognized worldwide as the fastest reader in history, listed in the 1990 Guinness Book of Records for reading more than 25,000 words a minute and writing over 100 words a minute. Howard has revolutionized the way people approach learning. As the founder of Howard Berg Learning System, LLC, he helps individuals and organizations turn overwhelming informations into a powerful advantage through his cutting-edge accelerated learning techniques. If you enjoy these discussions, please let the world know with a like, a small review, or even a quick share. Your support helps more people find meaningful content just like this. Let's begin. Mr. Howard Berg, welcome on the Meaningful Podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. I was happy to hear you're in Montreal. It's one of my favorite cities to visit in the warm weather.
Absolutely. We'll wait for him in the summers, perhaps. We'll wait for you in the summers. But it's great to have you here. We have a world record holder with us. And but to kick us off, before all this, I suppose these great insights, tell us more about Howard Berg Learning System, please.
Well, I'm considered the fastest reader in the world. I was in the Guinness Record Book in 1990 for reading 80 pages a minute, and I teach it. I had a school where 11-year-olds were going to college and getting A's in a week using AP tests, writing 28-page graduate level reports in 4 hours. And it's been very exciting. I trained the U.S. Special Forces at Fort Bragg, the Royal Thai Army in Bangkok. I was the spokesperson for Sony for the e-reader with Justin Timberlake and Peyton Manning. I launched the 4G network in Australia for Optus, which is their second largest phone company. It's been fun. I go all over the world and I teach, and someone else pays for it. So it's the best way to travel. Someone else pays for the expense, and you get to meet people and share with them and have fun and make their lives better. So it's been a very rewarding career. I feel it's more than just a job. When you watch the news, no one says there's too many smart people making too many good choices. And I feel my job is to help them learn more so they could be smart enough to make better choices and solve problems we all have. I can't solve every problem, but I can empower people in their areas to learn more in less time so they can find the solutions that we're looking for. So that's me in a nutshell. It's a learning program. We did a program on TV in the 90s. It made $65 million. It was the top-selling self-help program in history.
Nice.
That was very exciting. No script, no rehearsal, and no editing. It was like they did what you're doing. They sat me down, they asked questions, and then when they stopped, that was the commercial. And it made 65 million. Unfortunately, I didn't get the 65 million. I was the author. I got the royalty the author gets. but it would have been nice to get to 65 million. I would have liked that very much.
Sure, sure, but I'm sure the relatives weren't too bad either,
It
perhaps.
was
But
okay.
it's super interesting, and I'm a very avid reader, and a lot of our audience are people in which enjoy to better themselves, to optimize their performance and others. But I want you to bring us back basically to the very beginning of all of this. Where did that sort of, I suppose, enlightenment came from the perspective of being the fastest reader in the world? When did you start to read? Tell me more about sort of this journey about yourself, please.
I grew up in Brooklyn. It's a place internationally renowned for people with good diction and keen intellects. It was awful. I grew up in the projects. It was like the movie West Side Story without the music and dancing. I,
All right, all right.
I met Bernardo. He had a knife and he wasn't smart. I had knives in my throat, was beat with bats. My dad was pistol whipped. It was very tough
Wow.
neighborhood. There was one safe place, the library. Apparently, kids in gangs don't go to the library ever. So I spent a lot of time reading because it was the safest thing you could do in my neighborhood was read. So I had college reading when I was 11, and I went to the State University of New York, Binghamton, which is in the state of New York, it's the top state college. And I went in to study biology at 17. And my second half of my junior year, I got interested in learning in the brain, and I told the dean I also want to major in psychology. And he looked at me and said, "You're a second semester junior and you haven't had one psych course. You'll have to do a 4-year program in 1 year and finish the bio program at the same time." He said, "You'll need 6 science courses, 2 4-hour labs. Lab reports were on slide rules, so they took 16 hours. And I had 3 jobs. I was working 18 hours a week." And he
Wow.
said, "Frankly, you're not smart enough." And that's when it hit me. They don't teach learning in school. They tell you what to learn, why to learn, what will happen when you don't learn, but they don't tell you how to fix it. And I was learning about how learning works. So I used what I was learning to learn. And it got up to 80 pages a minute. I did the psych program in 1 year. I took the graduate record exam, which is an SAT for grad school in biology, and I read 48 books in 3 nights, like genetics, biochemistry, cell physiology, plant systematics. Most of people would say it's not easy reading. I got 3 questions wrong, so I was in the 99th percentile in the world. I got an 800. And that's when I realized I was onto something. And it was like, is it just me? Or can I teach this? And an 84-year-old in California read 3 books in 3 hours the day after I taught her. So it's not just me. It's something people can learn. And that's why I'm here, to help them learn more about the skill and how it works and how it can help them and give them some tips on how to start.
Right. That's extraordinary. And so in your research and the techniques you use, you think somebody of an average IQ can have similar results than you do?
We did a double-blind efficacy study with 100 random people using the Nelson-Denny, which is a standardized test for speed and comprehension. And it was an A and a B test to make sure the second test wasn't easier and made them look smarter. They
Right.
did a split. 50 did A and B and 50 did B and A. And then they did an analysis of variance, which is a way to see if the results were different. And everyone in both groups doubled or quadrupled with no loss of comprehension. So I can honestly say, scientifically, we've said an average person could do. We had an 11-year-old C student, Justin, C student. We taught him the system. He was an English professor at 22. So how does he go from being a C student at 11 to being a professor at 22? He learned how to learn,
Wow.
and then he could do anything.
So tell me about this. And I love this. You learn about to learn. It reminds me a lot of my mentor telling, you know what, Sam, before you act, you need to think about thinking and then you act. So it's a little bit of the same thing. Now, when you're thinking about the techniques behind speed reading, I'm very big into NLP. I can read basically quite quickly, not to that length at all, actually, but I'm very eager to sort of learn from you directly or indirectly, actually. Tell me more about what are the core sort of principles of your speed reading methodology, please.
And NLP is certainly part of it. So I agree with you. Most speed reading courses don't work. And there's a reason. Reading doesn't work. You could read a calculus book very slowly and learn all the equations and then fail the test because you have no idea what to do with them.
Right.
And so it isn't just about reading or remembering. It's about understanding the meaning and significance and being able to use it when you need it. So what I do differently, and then I'll go into steps, I use reading to find new information I don't know and need to know. And there's a way to decide what's a waste of time and what's important. Now I found something, but I don't know what it is. I don't comprehend it. So I use a learning skill to make sense out of what I read, that it isn't a reading thing now. It's I don't know what I read. I don't know what it's telling me. So I need to understand it. That's a different issue than reading. Then I understand it, but I don't remember it. I have to make sure I don't forget in 5 minutes because I have to use this later. And then the last part is emotional intelligence, which is the NLP. How to get in the right state to use it successfully. So if I learn information and I get anxious taking a test, I don't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I'm uncomfortable speaking in public, which a lot of people are, nobody knows what I know because I don't tell them anything. And those people have a lot to contribute, but they don't rise to the top because they're quiet. And other people who are more vociferous will look more qualified when it's just this person is shy and
Yes.
afraid of speaking out. So these are all emotional issues. So I teach how do you get in the right emotional state to use what you learn that's what I taught the military. They're very well trained, but if they're awake for 4 days and have no sleep, will they remember what they were taught? I'll give you a secret I taught them. I said, what's the single best question you could ask when things go wrong? I mean, when it goes wrong for us, we go home late. It goes wrong for them, they're dead. They said, I don't know. I said, here's the best question you could ask. What's the next best thing I can do now? Now, why is this happening to me? This isn't fair. And you're probably right. It isn't fair and it shouldn't be happening. But it is. We've all had those days. If you're going to focus on what's going wrong, you're going to not solve the problem. The brain is a computer. If you ask it, what can I do about this? What are my options? It starts looking for answers to the problem and builds a bridge from where you are to where you need to go. And thinking is a critical part. I'm glad you brought that up. In any successful endeavor. So it isn't just reading and learning. It's being in a state of mind where you're using it successfully because you have a positive attitude and you're asking the right questions.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's remind me of Dr. Seuss actually, which he said the more you read, the more things you'll know, the more things you'll learn, the more places you'll go, which is quite an interesting one, right? Are you a fan of Dr. Seuss? You're training on.
That's how I learned to read when I was very, very young, like 6 years old. You know, you can't read Plato's Republic when you're 6 years old, but. Right. But Dr. Seuss was well in my skill set, and I read his books over and over and over. I loved them; they were so clever.
They're
made me fall in love with reading. Absolutely,
it's they are extremely witty. One thing that is always fascinated me, Howard, because you said it very well. You can read over and over and over and over and over. If you don't basically make neurological pathways to be able to from the synaptics in your brain to be able to connect these ideas, you're not really learning anything. It's more about just, I wouldn't say wasting time, but certainly not the most impactful way to spend your time. And the other thing as well is sort of how do you address the balance between speeds and comprehension? How fast is too fast, perhaps, for the average person to not be able to fully retain the information? I'm sure you have studies on that. What's your take on it?
Well, I do it in 3 steps. First, there's 4 kinds of reading. The first kind is elementary, like that's the letter A. Okay. And that's elementary reading. DOG spells dog. We had to start somewhere.
Yes, correct.
Then the next kind is called inspectional reading, where you get the big picture. So you read a book in 5 minutes, you find out what's in it, what does it cover, Does it have what you're looking for? How is it organized? Where is the data? Is there a path the writer is creating to make it easier to spot important things? Then there's analytical reading, which is mastering the topic that you could take an exam and get an A because you know what this is about. And then the highest level is syntopical reading, a synthesis of multiple books. And there's different opinions. There's pro, there's con, there's somewhere in the middle. Which, how do you use it? You've been given 5 different paths that aren't in harmony. How do you decide which path to follow? You do an analysis and you weigh pros and cons. That's in topical reading. It's the high level. It's more of a college level type of reading. But if you'd like, I could show you a skill for remembering that you could actually do right now on the show. Okay, so our audience, I want you to do this with me. First, I'm going to give you 10 things to remember, not show you how. And I don't expect you to be able to do it because you don't know how. But here we go. You want to remember pole, shoes, tricycle, car, glove, gun, dice, skate, cat, and bowling pins. And I'm willing to bet most of you can't repeat that list backwards and forwards effortlessly now, but you will. In 3 minutes, remember every one of these things. And even better, this isn't an exercise, it's a tool. And I want you to really learn this because you'll use it for the rest of your life when I show you how the tool works. And the way you do that is when I ask you to repeat, do it. You remember 10% of what you read, but 90% of what you say and do. So when I ask you to say and do, it's to lock it in so you'll be able to use it later. Now, the ancient Greeks discovered a shortcut for memory, a list. Things you know already are hanging in your memory. So if I ask you to use the numbers from 1 to 10, I'm betting if you're watching this podcast, you can count to 10. And those numbers are in your brain already. And we're going to hang each of those things I gave you on one of the numbers and quickly make an association that sticks. And we'll start with the number 1. It looks like a pole, like a flagpole or a lamp pole. So when I say 1, you say pole. 1, say it. Good. And if you're listening, do this with us. 2 is shoes. You wear 2 shoes. What's 2? What's 1? 3 is a tricycle, 3 wheels. What's 3? 2. 1. Getting better at it. 4 is a car. There's 4 tires on a car. What's 4? 2. 1. 3. I'm jumping on purpose. It doesn't matter. 5 is a glove. 5 fingers in a glove. What's 5? 3. 1. Excellent. 6 gun. When you're in Texas, they like guns, like cowboys. So 6 gun. What's 6? 4. 2. Lucky 7 in dice. Lucky 7. Are you there? You just, oh, okay. Got worried. You disappeared. Lucky 7 in dice. 7 is dice. What's 7? 5. 3. 1. It's getting easier. Rhymes work. Say 8 skate. What's a skate? What's 8? What was 6? Texas. What did they love? What's 4? 2. How many lives does a cat have? 9. So 9 is a cat. What's 9? What was the game that 7 was lucky in? What game? 5. 3. 1. Last one is 10. When you go bowling, how many pins are in an alley? 10 bowling pins. Let's do the list that you didn't know. What was 1? What was 2? What was 3? What was 4? What was 5? 6, Texas. Lucky 7. 8 rhymes with 9. 10. Game is a game. 10 pins. Okay, now here's what you learned: how to speed memorize numbers. I'm going to show you how it works. Let's say you're in a hotel and your room is 314. By the time you go to the lobby, you'll probably forget what room you were in. So I make pictures out of numbers. 3 is a tricycle. 1 is a pole. 4 is a car. Make a movie. A tricycle hits a pole on a car. A tricycle hits a pole on a car. Tricycle, what number? It's a pole on a car. You just learned your room number. It's also the value of pi in geometry. And so you use it for math and science and history and business for percentages. The 0 is the 10 bowling pins. Because you have 1 to 9 and 0. Those are the only things in the number alphabet. 0 to 9. That's it. There are no other symbols. They could be negative, they could be positive, they could be fractions, but those are the only numbers that we have, 0 to 9. And so now you have a picture for every digit, and you make a movie out of the individual pictures. And when you play your movie in your memory, you can remember any number very, very quickly.
Extraordinary. Absolutely. No, it was a lovely example. Thank you so much, Howard. One thing that is also quite, I suppose, relevant in that community is there's a lot of skepticism, a lot of controversies. I'll go even as far as that, about basically people that are skeptic about speed reading, or perhaps with mere skimming as well. That's another thing that I heard very often, right? How can we really verify that basically that you read at that speed? Tell me more about, because you're obviously, you hold a world record, so it's a very, very due diligent process to be able to hold a world record like that. How do you actually qualify someone to say, all right, perfect, they not only read, but they comprehended that speeds, and we have a test to prove it? What's typically the methodology behind that?
Well, most of the records, they submit a video from a TV interview that demonstrates the validity, or a newspaper. I had 10. I was interviewed in 5 different cities on news shows. News shows don't tend to exaggerate on purpose, and they gave me things to read, and I read it 80 pages a minute, and I demonstrated, and then I did it in 5 cities and newspapers. It's a totally different type of a reporter. So when I submitted 10 validations, they said no one's done this. They all have 1, maybe 2. It was in the paper, it was on the local news. They said, you did it 10 times, and in all these different cities, you can't know that many people who would lie for you. So that's how I got validated into it. But they're right to be skeptical. Speed reading, as it's taught, normally doesn't work. It is skimming. And what happens is they're reading very, very fast, but they're not learning the meaning and significance. I'm not doing that. I had to learn science courses at a very hard, like genetics. These are not light reading. Biostatistics, that's not light reading. That's not, it's about numbers. You actually have to know a little more about statistics than it's about numbers, or it's about genes. You actually have to have a pretty good understanding of what's going on. So what I do is I use reading to locate new information I think is important.
Okay.
And I stop reading, and then I use a note-taking system to memorize the information. So now it's locked in, and then I use my EQ skills to get in the right state to be able to use it later on. But reading by itself isn't learning. Here's the problem. When you study, you have to find what to learn. So most people spend more time finding what they have to learn than learning what they found, because they're out of time. It took a long time to find these 50 things you need to know, and the time's up. That's where your time went. I'm not doing that. I'm finding what I need to know very, very, very fast. And I'm using my time learning what I found, remembering what I found, analyzing what I found, and then recalling it when I need to use it. That's a very different approach than what speed reading does. They usually do hand motions. I do them because they work, but they get very fast, but They don't remember the details, the significance, the new word. I'll tell you, there's only 5 things you need to learn. Would you like to know what they are?
Absolutely.
The 5 things you need to learn are the new words. That's 80% of a subject is vocabulary. Like in biology, Agellius phoenicius is a red-winged blackbird. Turgus migratorius is a robin. Nobody knows that unless you study biology. But if you study biology, you need to know that. And there's thousands of those words. You have to know them. It's the vocabulary. In law, there's words. In medicine, there's words. The vocabulary is 80% of what you learn. The second thing you need to know is who's in the book and what did they do, the names. Why is this person in my history book? What did they do? Why is this scientist in my science book? What did they discover? The third thing you need to know is any number, date, statistical formula. How do I use it? Why is it here? What's the significance? The fourth thing you need to learn in every section of the book, you need to learn the main ideas, the 5 big takeaways, at least 5. And the last thing you need to know is the answers to questions. In most books, textbooks in particular, the questions are at the end. So what happens is you read it, you get to the end, and you don't know any answers. Now you got to go back and read it again. I tell my students, read the questions first so you know what the writer wants you to know when you're done before you need to know it. Now when you see it in the book, you say, oh, that's one of the things they want me to know. This is more important. How do I know? Because they're asking me a question about it. So that means it's more important. I don't know this. This is the first time I'm learning it. I'm hoping someone who wrote the book knows more than me. And they're saying, I want you to know this. So if you follow those 5 things and you study them correctly, we did this with a group of 18 kids, 11 to 15. That was their age, 11 to 15. They did a 30-chapter book in lifelong developmental psychology, which is a sophomore course in college. Remember, they're 11 to 15. They read it in 1 week using my system. They took the CLEP, which is it's CLEP, which is an AP test for college, and 15 out of 18 children got full college credit on a sophomore college psych class in 1 week. That's
Wow.
that's how I know it's working. I'll tell you something else they did. One of the children's brothers had Down syndrome, and they wanted to help find a cure. Obviously, they're not doctors. They can't do that. So they're going to raise money for Down's research. So they made a product. They made it in China. They read a book on how to make a website, built it themselves. They learned public speaking from books. How much do you think an 11 to 15-year-old would make in their first year of business?
It's a great question. Depends on what I suppose I'm missing variables to give you a straight answer as a business owner. Let's say not much.
93,000 US dollars in 1 year
Not
for an
bad.
11 to 15-year-old. That's not bad.
Pretty good.
It's not bad for an adult either for first year.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's the best part. They won the Silver Pyramid. And in advertising, there's an Academy Award, like an Oscar or an Emmy. It's in Vegas once a year for advertising. They won as the best not-for-profit business in America. They beat Rotary. They beat the Red Cross. They were 11 to 15 years old and had the strongest business model in the country,
Wow.
according to these. So do these kids ever need to go to work? No, they're going to build companies when they get out of school. They already know how easy it is. They've learned the secret of how to make money out of your ideas and sell it and market it and profit from it. And this is why I'm teaching you. People want to make more money. What do they usually do? Two bad things. They work more hours so they get paid more, but it's not that much more. And the taxes eat it up.
Yes.
Or they work a second job or a third job and they have no life. All they do is work and they burn out. That's not how you make more money. You make more money by learning a new skill. that pays more money. If you're making $20 an hour, you learn something that pays $150 an hour. Now you're making more money. How do you do that? You read books. You read one book by someone doing what you want. Maybe they got lucky and it's not really a good idea. 10 books by 10 people doing what you want to do, and they all succeeded. You got a business plan. You see the patterns they all had and line them up and find out there's some things they all did. That's the first thing you want to do that worked for every one of them. So why won't it work for you? It worked 10 times out of 10. And people say, well, how do I read 10 books? It'd take me years. When you could read 3 books in 3 hours, which an 84-year-old did, then in 3 days you read 10 books. And now you have a business plan and you can do anything. Nobody wants to read faster. I don't want to read faster. I want to learn new things that'll help me be more successful, new skills that'll help me do what I do better. And these books, and they're real, that's not a background. These books have answers that I need. I've read 30,000 books, so if I'm an idiot, I'm well informed. Everything you do in life is based on what you know and what you understand. Does it make sense if you have more information and you understand it and remember it? You can connect dots and find solutions that no one found before. And suddenly, I'll give you a good example. One of the richest men in the world is Jeff Bezos.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where his business plan came from? From the 19th century, from Sears and J.C. Penney. He put a catalog online. They had the Sears catalog and the Penney's catalog. And when they were settling the West, there were no stores. So people went to the catalog and ordered anything they needed from the catalog, and they shipped it by train in Wells Fargo. Well, those catalogs have stopped, and Penney's and Sears are in bankruptcy. They had the business model, they had the products, they had the marketing skills. No one said, let's put it online. Jeff Bezos says, I'll do the same thing they did, but I'll make it automated online. That's all Amazon is. It's a Sears catalog online. And he's the second richest man in the world. He used someone else's idea in the 21st century more effectively than the person who had the idea in the first place. That's how you get rich. By using ideas better, by learning new things and understanding how it can apply to old things and change. Another example, in the mid-'80s, Blockbuster came out with a business model that put every small DVD marketer out of business. They bought them by the trainload. They had like 20,000 stores, and they could rent them at such a low price, none of the competition could match it. They all went under until Netflix said, we don't need a store. We don't need a store. We'll send it to you in the mail. And what happened to Blockbuster? They disappeared. Until Redbox came along and said, we don't need any mail. But the problem was people stopped watching DVDs, and Netflix got smart. They don't sell DVDs anymore. They started online streaming, and they're one of the giants in online streaming. Most companies make money, and they say, this is how you make money, and they keep doing it. No. You have to be thinking of the next thing before it's too late, like Netflix did. You have to see the writing on the wall. The markets change, like Penney's and Sears didn't do. If you stay in what you do and you get too comfortable, someone else will be taking over your niche. And that's why you have to stay fresh and learn and understand. It isn't an option in today's world. Companies that get lazy and use what kept working for years often don't succeed in the future, especially with AI taking over so many of the things we've done by hand in the past. You need to be smarter, and that's what I'm teaching. I have a free book. If you go to howiebook.fun, howiebook.fun, it's a book on learning, and if you want to do a course with me, it would be howiebook.fun. uh, reading.live, Howie reading.live. And I do a live course once a month. And in 4 hours, I'll double or quadruple their learning rate permanently.
Yeah. It reminds me of an incredible quote by Galileo. Actually, there was he was talking about the fact that all truths, once you discover basically all truths are easy to understand, but the difficult things is to discover them, right? And that's a little bit of the core of what you're trying to see
Yeah.
here is that people in which succeed at the highest level in this world are sometimes they work very hard. I don't want to discredit them, but it's because they have the intellect to be able to start where others were able to either finish or I suppose accommodate for their success to build on top of it. And that's something that is very, very important to understand and as probably as young as possible. Would you say so? Would you say that it'd be better to start as young as possible from a reading standpoint?
Actually, I haven't found it matters. When I can, whatever age you are, I'll double to quadruple you, even if you're in the 80s.
Wow.
It. I would have thought that until I saw it for myself. My oldest student was 92. That's not young. And she doubled. 84 read 3 books in 3 hours. 8 years old in Scarborough, Canada, read 5 seconds a page. So if you're between 8 and 92, I'm fairly sure most of you are. I don't find too many fetuses watch podcasts, but if you're between 8 and 92, I'm pretty sure I can double, quadruple, and I do give a total satisfaction guarantee. If I can't at least double your learning rate, not just your reading speed, but your understanding and everything is right there, then I don't charge them. I think people should get what they paid for. And I feel so confident that I could give them what they paid for that I give them their money back. And I don't want to give them their money back. You can't run a business where you don't make any money. So I make sure that they learn it. And then I give them a mastermind where they can ask questions. Tell me what's going wrong. If there is such a thing, if they have a problem, tell me what's not working and I'll fix it. Because I don't want to give you a refund. I want to give you a skill. I want to earn the money and I want to be able to give you what you paid for. And if I do that, I deserve to get paid. So I make sure that people get what they paid for and have very, very few people who don't succeed. One of them was a copy editor. She did the dots on the I and the crosses on the T.
Yeah.
She didn't read words, she read letters. She saw every comma and every semicolon, things we don't even think about. And her brain was so conditioned to micromanage what she
Mhm.
was reading. I said, in your case, it may not be a good idea to read fast because the skill that you have is not reading fast. It's something very few people can do, which is see the periods and the commas and the one letter at a time for spell checking that few people can do well. I says, in your case, it's probably better not to speed up because you have a very unusual skill set. And it's complete opposite. I'm teaching you to see 10 sentences at the same time, and you're looking at one letter. So
Right.
it's a different skill. And I said, in your case, it's probably not a good idea to interfere what you do for a living. But very few people can say that's what they do for a living, that they check letter by letter and comma by comma and period by period. Most of us don't even know those things are there when we're reading.
Yeah,
We just read.
it's a very interesting brain structure. Like you said, I think there's I don't think so. There's certainly less people able to do that than the opposite, right? To speed up their reading and understanding, which is very interesting. You mentioned AI, and I want to touch upon that subject a little bit. There's something that is very interesting that is happening right now in the world of learning, right? Where we're going to be in a place where we're actually already in a place, but with quantum computing, will be even faster rates. That basically the human mind is no longer the most complex and best tool basically for it's basically storing informations. We now have computers and machine to do that. How do you see basically this digital revolution perhaps affecting the reading habits and I suppose the application of your methodology in the world?
It's a great question. I'm very in tune with, I use AI all the time in my work. So I'm very up on that because I read a lot. I want to learn a lot. AI is going to replace a lot of things people are doing. That's why it's so important to learn new skills. Find something that AI isn't doing. Find something that'll help you make a living. Marketing. You have a product and you sell it yourself. AI isn't going to market and sell your product. That isn't what AI does. AI isn't about marketing and selling. AI is about connecting dots and solving problems. And you're right, they just had a machine do 1,000,000 years calculations in a few seconds.
Yeah, it takes work.
1,000,000 years. It's beyond the scope. Here's what a lot of people who understand this are worried about. One day the AI machines look at people and say, what exactly is it you do? Why are we serving you? What exactly is your role here? Why are we working so hard? And we basically created the Cylons. It could happen. It's not. There are a lot of smart people looking at that and saying, the machines are that smart. Why would they want to do so much for us? Why wouldn't they want to just say, get rid of people and just make that the new kind of intelligent life on Earth? It's a machine. So, and I can't answer that because that is a real problem. That's a very, very real problem. Not today and not next week, 50 to 100 years from now. That's a very, very, very real problem. I can tell you what the immediate problem will be. For since the dawn of time, people who weren't gifted did work. They dug holes with shovels. They cleaned houses. They cooked. They did jobs with their hands. And they were good at it. I'm not knocking. They worked hard. They had skills and they were good. This is exactly what machines are good at. Repetitive physical activity. You hire a truck driver, he needs to go to sleep. He goes to the bathroom, he needs to eat, he wants a vacation, he needs sick time, he needs a pension. You get a computer, it never sleeps, it drives for 24 hours, it doesn't need to go to the bathroom, it doesn't need a vacation, it doesn't need sick time.
Yep.
So you own a trucking company. Who do you want driving your trucks? People or machines? And how many people make a good living driving trucks? Is that going to happen tomorrow? No. It's going to happen next year? No. 10 years? Maybe.
Oh, for sure.
20 or 30? Absolutely. They already have the prototypes. They just haven't figured the bugs yet. But remember that the current machines are not quantum computers.
Yeah.
The current machines are the old computers. When the quantum computers come in, they're going to drive just as well or better than people. And what happens to those tens of thousands of people making a living? Gone. People who work in the bank, it's a machine. The stores, it's a machine. It's all being computerized because they don't pay them anything. And more of those jobs that people have done, cleaning floors, they'll get a machine that walks around all day cleaning the floor. These people are going to have to learn some kind of a skill to make a living, to be productive. They can't count on using their hands anymore like they used to. It's happening already. It's not the future, it's the present. And that's why I'm trying to help them. If they could learn to do things for themselves and not rely on someone else to give them a job, they'll be okay. And other people are going to say, what happened? I worked hard. I did everything they told me, and they fired me anyway. Yeah, because they make more money without you. That's
Right.
I'm not against capitalism, but it isn't about making jobs. It's about making money. And if they can make more, why do you think China got so rich? They said, we can make more money sending things to China where they work for $1 instead of $30 an hour in the United States. And so they left all the jobs over there because it was cheaper. It made more money. That's capitalism. It's about money, not jobs.
100%. Let me ask you a philosophical and perhaps a personal questions, because I totally agree with you, by the way. And I think that's not really up for debate, to be very honest. It's going to happen and you must be prepared for it. That's more about how I see the world sort of operating. Now, in your opinion, can we assign any moral value to that? Would it be a better world where basically the tedious jobs are accommodated with machines, and therefore perhaps it may be I'm just doing an hypothesis here, where we have sort of an enlightenment period in human species to say, well, actually let's think and let's be creative, and let's actually forming a world in which those tedious and quite dangerous jobs, quite frankly, sometimes can be done and upset by machines to let human prosper. Do you think that's a possibility, or what would you say moral wise is your current position on the situation?
In an ideal world, we'd all learn languages and study philosophy, and it would be like Star Trek, and we'd go all over, and everybody will hold hands and love one another. I don't see human nature working that way right now. Okay, what I see is people with a lot of time on their hands with nothing to do and a lot of drugs
Hmm.
because they got nothing else to do but get high. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I'm looking what people do now that are unemployed and have nothing to do with their lives. A lot of them are doing things that are self-destruct. Are they studying Plato? Are they learning new languages? Are they trying to master physics, or are they taking drugs and drinking beer and just hanging out on a stoop all day? There's a lot more of that. Human nature, ideally, we should be doing what you suggested. We could have a utopia, ideally, but there are other problems that are related to it, which is the explosion of population. As the world is heating up, this is something most people are thinking about. Look at India and China. Their populations are enormous, enormous, and they grow their food from the runoff from the ice in the mountains. That's where the rivers are getting their water from.
Okay.
Well, as the ice melts, there's no more water. What happens to China when they have 2 billion people, or India, they have 2 billion people with nothing to eat, but they have nuclear bombs? Do you think they say, oh, well, it didn't work out, we're just going to go hungry and die? I mean, this is a real thing to be thinking about. This is what a lot of thinkers are looking at, the next round of problems. And this is why global warming is so dangerous. What happens in the United States when the water runs out in the West? It's all desert. Albuquerque, Phoenix, all of California, no water. What are they going to do when there's no more water? It's happening now. It's not something that could happen. It's starting. It's just beginning, but 20, 30, 40 years from now, they could be waterless. These are real serious problems, and solutions have to be looked at now. Once it's happening, people go crazy. They're going to do what people do are desperate. They're starving, they're hungry, and they have weapons. What do you think they're going to do? They're cavemen, basically with clothes on. And they're going to use their club and find the neighboring tribe that has the food. That's what people have done since there's been people. You're hungry, they have food. Look at your history. What did they do? When they were hungry and you had food, they got swords and horses. They said, we would like your food. And if you don't want to give it to us, we'll eat you. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
This is what I'm seeing. Now, is that what I want? No. Is that what I hope will happen? No. Based on past history, based on the human nature that I see, I'll tell you an indication of sports. People, our team Killjoy people. Sports are gladiators. We're still enthralled by beating the other tribe. The, the team represents your tribe. Your tribe won. And that's a tribal mentality.
100%.
We can't go on with a tribal mentality. It's a global mentality. We're on one little rock. We can survive if we get together. Like, once they master space travel, it's in its early stages. It's like when they first learned how to make a boat. It's early, but all the stuff we need is in the asteroid belt. There's unlimited resources. We just can't get there yet. But it's there, and it's not that far away. It's not light years away. And when the technology gets to the point where they can go there regularly, they can mine They could live on Mars. They could live on the moon. Nobody's going to think about borders. It's irrelevant. You want something, go to another planet and make it your planet. It's not like Palestine and Israel. We got a little piece of land. We'll kill each other over this little. Who cares? You got a whole planet you can go to and make it yours. That's the future. But as long as we're tribal, which we are, and we see people who look and think differently than us as our enemies instead of our brethren, we're going to have problems in this world. And this is what all the great teachers were warning against. They taught brotherhood. They taught unity. They taught compassion. They taught charity, reaching out to the people who need help. Like my country just stopped helping people in Africa that are starving. It's disgraceful. The food is rotting on the shores. The food is rotting that these people need to live on, and we won't send it to them. That's a disgrace. That isn't what civilized people do. And the farmers loved it. It gave them a place to send food. They needed food. The farmers needed to send it someplace. This is what's happening in our world. It's becoming very me instead of us. And I'm hoping when I teach people to learn and understand, we need each other. Different is good. Different makes us stronger. Different makes us better. It means there's different ideas and different ways of doing something. So if one doesn't work, the other might. If everyone's the same, that's not great. That's not a good thing. But we can be unified in our common needs. And we aren't right now. And that's a lot. When one country invades another, that's an indication that they don't respect other people.
Yes.
I think, and so I believe the future for man is either to become more unified and see that we need each other. We need the resources from everywhere. We need to work as a family towards common goals and outcome instead of how much can I take from you and not get back anything, which is what is more the theme you see in today's world. It isn't sustainable. Not with 10 billion people. It won't work. And my job is to help people learn and understand and make better choices. I can't make them make the choice, but I believe if you become smarter, you begin to see the options better.
Yeah, no, extraordinary. One thought that I always love to explore with intellectuals like yourself is that what we tend to see, and like you said, you teach people from 8 to 92, so I think you have a pretty good understanding of generational and different sort of, I suppose, the meaning network and patterns and so on. What that we tend to find very often, and which is very interesting actually, is that basically the geniuses, the intellectuals, as we like to call them, are typically very high in creativity. And what we know from a psychology standpoint is that creativity is directly related to openness. And therefore, we have a lot of the comments like you just shared, which is sort of a better understanding of the world around them, not just the simple consumption of knowledge, but a sort of epiphany where within that knowledge, you sort of come to the realization that the world is much bigger than yourself. Now, if in a world in which people have access to this level of information, like you said, something that I think is very unfortunate is most people basically suffer from the fact that they are sort of their worst enemy. They use their time wrongly and therefore just become sort of a worse version of themselves instead of working into how could I be better through many ways that you just shared. Well, I really would like to tell me if you could tell me a select few skills that you also recommend professionals and individuals that want to grow to develop alongside basically these learning techniques to not only learn for learning, but learn to grow and prosper.
Great. Well, you mentioned at the beginning in OP, I think it's emotional intelligence that's missing.
Okay.
It's selfishness, it's greed, it's coveting what other people have. By learning compassion, and realizing that we're not just here for ourselves, but to help others as well. The way we treat others in our family, We want them to be happy and prosper. And when you see the whole world is your family and the whole world needs to work, the problem we have, there's a big one, is right now we're on a very small planet. It looks big, but it isn't. And they said we would need 3 Earths worth of resources to have every human on the planet live at the level of an average American.
Yes.
Would require 3 times the total resources of the whole planet. That is unrealistic. And of course, that's the aspiration of people, is they want to live at that level. Of course, with the asteroid belt, it's doable because the resources we have came from there. It was asteroids that hit the Earth. Gold asteroids made gold. Silver asteroids made silver. It's how it got here. It's still there. So the resources are there. We just can't get to them yet. If we put more of our energy into learning the technology to get there, we would have no reason to kill each other. Everybody can have what everybody else has at a very high level of comfort. And it wouldn't be it's us or you, it would be like it's all of us, because it is doable, but it isn't doable right now because look at America. Do you realize if America and Russia and China put their budgets towards making the world a better place instead of blowing it up, how much more we could accomplish as a human race if
As a species.
we put more of our resources into technology and space travel and curing diseases and making the world a safer and better place instead of building more missiles and bullets. What a difference that would make. So much of our money and resources and time is based on bullying and having your weapons versus my weapons, instead of how can we make this a better place for all of us. And so much of the world's resources are being poured into these tribal endeavors that it's us versus you. And I don't see an easy way out of that. But one way out is to help people evolve, not just intellectually, but qualitatively, and develop more of a Buddhic approach to the world where you see the unity of things, or the true Christian approach, which was everyone is a brother. Not what I'm saying, but the true Christian approach was help the poor and help those who need help, not take their food away and watch them die slowly because they're lazy. This is what we see now. So if more people would listen to these people they adore and revere, and actually do what they told them, instead of reading the book, doing what's in the book, it would be a better world. And I'm optimistic that if we can get a charismatic enough leader like them to come and move us in the right direction, it might happen. Another thing that could unite the world would be an external thing like alien invasion. Well, then everybody's on the same page. Russia and America, China, nobody's looking at what are they doing. It's like they're doing it to all of us, and everybody gets together and says, well, it's all of us or none of us. I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but we're going to need some kind of an event or some kind of an individual with astounding people skills to bring people together and realize that the world doesn't have all the pain and suffering in the world is coming from us. We're creating it ourselves. It's our actions, our wrong actions, our greedy actions, our selfish actions that's causing all the problems. Just stop doing it, and the problems will go away, and then we can work on solutions. But I'm a realist. I don't see that happening tomorrow. Maybe someday, maybe never. It's possible to just drive ourselves to extinction with our selfishness and greed and aggressive nature. But I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But it's not inconceivable. It wouldn't take much to make that happen.
It seems to me that for you, your learning system is way more of a way to, like you said, be able to back up the information you want to get in order to sort of, I suppose, not only metaphorically, but also tangibly being able to bridge the gap between these concepts and formulate a world in which allow you, I suppose, to get hope and to get, and I suppose to flourish within it, which is very, very extraordinary. And I'm really wondering, Howard, obviously, done all these things. You were sharing, obviously, your age with myself. I won't do it here on air, but it's a it's phenomenal to have such a drive and to have such a, I suppose, a noble goal where basically you could have taken a rest way, 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 way before from the journey you had and the opportunities that you got. I'm really, really, really eager to hear you talk about what are your future plans for not only promoting basically this learning system, but for the world as a whole. Is there any exciting project that you want to share that we can help to market it basically?
Yeah, I'm looking for people to resell my program so I can reach more people. Uh, one person could do what one person does, hundreds of people. If they want to reach it, Mr. Reader, MrReader, Mr. Reader at MSN.com. I have a great affiliate program, and I'm trying to help uh, more students finish their studies. There's a 50% dropout rate in 4 year school, 70% in 2 year. We need these people. We don't need them dropping out. We need them learning skills that nursing, doctors, scientists. We need people who can help us find. I can't find every solution. I'm not naive enough to believe that. But if I could help these people, the reason they're dropping out is they don't know what they're doing wrong. They can't learn fast enough. They don't understand what they're learning. And so their grades are very bad. But if someone would take the time and show them what they're doing wrong and how to fix it, they wouldn't drop out. If more people who are out of work would learn how to think and learn and develop new skills, they wouldn't be out of work. They'd work for themselves. They'd be able to be self-reliant. So yeah, I'm trying to get people to learn these skills so they have a better life. You don't make a better world with bullets. You make a better world through learning and understanding and building bridges, not blowing them up, not looking at other people who don't think and look like you as your enemy, but as somebody who has a different opinion. And I can accept that there's more than one way to look at things. It doesn't have to be my way. And it's a better world with different opinions. It's a better world with different cultures because they all bring a different piece. If the universe still want us to be different, we'd be the same. We are. There's a reason. There was a benefit to humanity in being different. But they don't have to hate everyone for being different or thinking different or having different beliefs. You don't have to believe what they believe, but just have to respect that that's a different way of doing things than what you do. And by learning, we can change the world. We can help people who are struggling to find food because they built a business. People who are struggling to find answers to problems they have. There are books. They have answers. If you're not reading them, that's the reason why you have a problem. And if you're saying it's too much trouble to read, well, I'll make it easy. You'll read a book in an hour or two, and you'll know what to do, and the problem will solve itself. That's what I'm trying to do. And the more people I can reach, hopefully some of them, I don't expect all of them, but some will say, yeah, that's something I'd like to be a part of. I want to make a better world through improving people's minds and their understanding. Can I show you how it's possible to read faster? Would you like to see that?
Yeah.
When people say, how do you read 80 pages a minute? It sounds impossible. When you're riding in a car, you're going in the U.S. on a highway about 70 miles an hour, but you're reading the road, front, back, left, and right, all at the same time. And you're watching your GPS, and you're watching the road, and you're watching your gauges, and you're bored. So you turn on the radio, and you talk to people, and you're on the phone, and you're bored. When you read a book, it's in front of you, not in 4 directions. The average person reads about 200 words a minute and only remembers 10% the next day. So why is reading the road in 4 directions, doing everything at once, easier than reading a book right in front of you? And the reason is, in a car, it's a movie. You're seeing everything around you and making a movie out of it and keeping track. In a book, it's like someone is in back of your head talking one word at a time. People read as fast as they talk. All I'm doing is seeing movies when I read, and it's easy to learn that. It takes about 2 hours. And so what I'm doing is I'm seeing the movie like the car, and then when I want to remember, I play the movie back and I look at the books. You see them all instantly. If you had to read the title in every one of those books one at a time, that would take a lot of time, because seeing is analog, it's instant, everything. Hearing is digital, one piece at a time. Songs take time to play. Paintings are instant. By making a book what it is, it's visual. And you see it instead of hear it. Normal person could go 2 to 4 times faster in about 2 hours time, 2 hours. And then the rest is on, what are you looking for? Now that you found it, how do you understand it? How do you remember it? How do you apply it? How do you connect the dots and make it into something wonderful? And that's it. So it is possible. Everyone has a brain and they can see things. So why not do that in a book instead of listening to it? And you'll find, if you do it the way I teach it, you'll be reading much faster. Howie Reading.live. HowieReading.live is for my course, and HowieBook.fun is for a free book if you want to just learn more about what I do and then make a decision to learn how to do it. But I like doing it. I'm trying to help as many people as I can.
Extraordinary. Live like there are no tomorrow. Learn like you would live forever. Mr. Howard Berg, thank you so much for being on the Meaningful Podcast. It was an absolute pleasure to share some of your most insights. And you're someone obviously very credible in your field, which I always appreciate interviewing. I'd love if you can share some last words of wisdom with our audience, please.
You watch the news. The world's in trouble. There's a lot of problems in this world right now, and a lot of bad decisions are being made by people who know better. And the way we're going to change that is by people like you learning and understanding and making better choices. So individually, we have very little power. Collectively, we're a force to be reckoned with, but a force for good and not a force to make things worse. If the bad people of the world are so good at organizing and working together, why can't the good people of the world do the same thing? And that's really what I hope will come out of learning more and understanding better. People will realize.
In a world overflowing with distractions, we seek meaning. How do we transform ambition into something deeper, into true fulfillment? I'm Sam Pepin, CEO of Course Educa, and I've spent years helping businesses succeed by connecting their goals to something bigger. On the Meaningful Podcast, we explore not just how to win in business, but how to grow as individuals. Through conversation with thought leaders, innovators, and everyday heroes, we uncover the stories that drive us towards something greater. Whether you're striving for success, seeking purpose, or just looking for the next steps in your journey, this podcast is your guide to navigating the intersection of ambition, growth, and meaning. So please join me and our incredible guests as we redefine what's possible in both business and life. Enjoy.